I love, love, love writing. It's the best. For years, like many of us writers out there, I have really wanted to write a novel. A novel! My first, hopefully, to be published novel. Coucou everyone, hello from Paris. I'm Karen. Thank you for joining me on my channel. I hope that your new year is off to an amazing start. I hope that you're feeling creative and inspired. I hope that you have some wonderful projects in the works and that you're creating magic in your own life this year. So today I thought that I would talk a little bit about an update in my work life, my creative life, since I've been living here for about 9 months in France. You may know that I got married to a French man last year, and so I moved here. I wanted to share a bit about a new project that I'm going to be working on this year. It's a project for myself. I actually have a project that's ending, and so I'm finding myself with a bit more time to work on something that's important to me, and so I'm going to try to take advantage of it this year. I thought I would share it with you, and maybe you'll come along for the ride with me as I see if I can make it happen this year. So what is this project? Some of you may know that in addition to being an entrepreneur and a designer, I am a writer. I've been a writer most of my life. I wrote my first little book. I think it was called Mary the Witch. It was about my mom. Her name is not Mary. When I was 6 years old, I wrote that book. And since then, you know, I've written poetry for myself. I've written a number of books about weddings and entertaining. I've written for some big brands. And right now, in fact, I'm actually working with another author. So I'm not the author of this book, but I'm helping to shape this author's story. And it has been just an incredible experience so far. And I'm really looking forward to telling you more about that in the future. But all that to say, writing is a very important part of who I am. I'm talking about writing, but of course, as a creative, as a designer, I think everything I'm going to say today applies to other forms of creativity, whether you are an actor, whether you are a painter, whether you make music. But specifically, I'm going to talk about it through the lens of creative writing today. For years, like many of us writers out there, I have really wanted to write a novel. In fact, I have attempted once to create a novel, but I ended up putting it aside after working on it for a couple of years. Anyway, with all these changes in my life, with my moving to a new country, I mentioned that one of my projects is ending. That's a business that I started just about 4 years ago, and it is coming to a close, which was sort of sad, but it's also making more space for me to do something that is really just for me. I'm actually quite grateful for that development in my life. I just wanted to kind of create some space and community around process around writing and kind of share what I'm thinking and how I approach a new creative project that has a long-term, plan. I'm hoping maybe you can share what works for you and your creativity. So we'll sort of exchange inspirations. And so I hope you'll leave me a comment and share what you are working on and what's important to you in your creative process, what you need to make it happen, because it's different for every one of us. I know that. And I think that's the first thing I would say is your creative process is your own. Some people like to write at night, in the middle of the night. Some people like to write 2 days a week and forget about writing for the rest of the week. Some people really feel obligated to write every single day for 3 hours a day. Some people can get up before a big job and write for 2 or 3 hours at 4 o'clock in the morning. Whatever your process is, when you write, how you write, what you need, even the format in which you write, that's all for you. And you can decide that, and no one can tell you what is best. So you can read books about writing, and you can read forums, and you can go to conferences, and it's all great. It's all inspirational. I feel like you learn something from each of those situations, but ultimately you are the decider about your own creativity. So never forget that. And it's easy to forget when people start giving you advice and whatnot. When I think about writing, there are short-term projects. There are very short-term projects like writing a piece of microfiction or journaling, for example, or writing a great letter, which is something I love, love, love to do. But then with something like a novel, or, if you're working on a screenplay, or if you are writing a piece of nonfiction that it requires a lot of research, these are projects that take a long time, months, if not years in some cases. we have to approach them differently. And I think it's difficult for me as someone who, I can be impatient and I do want what I want and I want it right now. But with something as complex, and intricate as a novel, it's not something that it's going to happen like that. I'm really excited about it, but I also know that I'm going to have to be organized and I'm going to have to allow myself the space for the project. I'm at the very beginning of the process. I've been reading some great books and I've been nourishing my creative spirit in that way. And that has been super, super helpful. And as a matter of fact, one of the things I want to share with you today is a book that I'm still in the process of reading. It's a writer friend here in Paris who recommended it for me. And it's this great book. It's called Story Genius. I love to share helpful books when I find them. So Story Genius, Lisa Cron. The subtitle of this book is How to Use Brain Science to Go Beyond Outlining and Write a Riveting Novel. What I love about her is she's super proactive and she helps you drill into like what's most important for your protagonist. And it's not like what happens to them, but it's how what happens to them affects them, how they think about it, what they come into the story with, and how it shapes, what will come and the changes that will come. And so I'm still in the middle of reading it. I love it. I highly recommend if you're working on a story that you get this book, Story Genius. Next step will be to let ideas bubble up. I have an approach where I make time to be quiet. So, life is very busy. I just make time I have a meditation chair that I sit in, or I'll just, sit in a comfy armchair and drink a cup of tea and think about my idea and ask myself questions and make notes. And allowing yourself the time to think deeply about your project before you jump into it, I think is a really good exercise to do. It helps you to slow down and really bring your presence of mind into that creative place and let your creative spirit flourish. After that, it's literally scheduling the time to write. And with that, I think scheduling the time so that you prioritize your writing over maybe some other things. Granted, we have family we have to take care of, we have things we all have to do, but I'll give you an example. Like a lot of times we wake up, there's, an email that you have to answer, you got to put out a fire here or there. And before you know it, half the day is gone. Well, now you don't feel so great, you're tired, you don't feel like writing, and you lose a day. I'm saying this as much for myself as I'm saying it for you. I am trying to make sure that I prioritize my writing and that I get started early-ish in the morning before I tackle other difficult things that I have to do, or even a whole bunch of things that aren't that difficult, but that are just like draining, because I want to give my best self, my best thinking, my best imagination. That being said, I also think it's very important to lower expectations. And this goes for any sort of long-term goal, whether it's like a lifestyle change, it's something that you want to do with healthy eating, going to the gym. The example I often use is that at one point I was trying to become healthier and work out more, and I had a big plan for myself, and I wasn't succeeding. I was starting and then falling off the wagon. And I had a personal trainer, and he told me, your problem is your expectations are too high. You're coming and saying you have to work out for like an hour or an hour and a half. You should start with 10 minutes. 10 minutes every day for like 2 weeks, and then add 5 more minutes. And I was like, are you kidding me? It's not even worth going for 10 minutes. And he's like, oh yes, it is, because it helps to build your sense of success. When you say you're going to work out for 10 minutes and you work out for 10 minutes, your brain, registers that as a success. Whereas if you say you're going to work out for an hour and you only work out for 45 minutes, your brain registers that as a failure. And it apparently, I'm not a scientist, apparently it has some, effect on your motivation and your ability to kind of like repeat and have increased success. It works for me. It has changed my life. I love it. And I apply it to my writing as well, or to anything that's important to me. And I encourage you to do it too. Try it and tell me if you find any difference, or if it helps you to feel less pressure when you're trying to push that boulder up the hill. It's nice if you can just go a little bit at a time, and a little bit at a time over time adds up to a lot. And I think that's what you have to keep in mind, is you don't have to do it all at once. Just do a little bit, advance it a little bit every day, and before you know it, you'll be getting a lot closer to your goal. So that's the way that I'm approaching my creative process right now. I'm reading, I'm allowing myself to think deeply, I am lowering my expectations, but prioritizing my own project so that I can give it the energy, the effort that I really want to give it. Those are the principles that I'm going to try to use to bring this new project to fruition. Thank you for being here with me on this video. Definitely let me know what you think about your own creative process or things that work for you. Drop me a line in the comments. If you like this video, I hope you'll give it a thumbs up. If you know someone else that it might help, or someone who is creative in your circle who's in the middle of something or starting something new, please invite other writers and other creatives to join us. Yes, I'm wishing you a lot of great creativity, progress on your work, lots of great stories, because stories are magic. All right, have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. A bientôt!